In a few weeks, doctors will wheel Eileen Bangle into the operating room to put a fake ligament into her left knee and to completely reconstruct her ACL. For someone who's been twisting and tumbling their entire lives and pushing their physical limitations, this isn't unusual. This is the life of a competitive cheerleader. Today we'll talk about competitive cheerleading, how it should be considered a sport, how it fits the definition of a sport, and the lack of differences between competitive cheerleading and other competitive sports. According to Merriam-Webster, a sport is a physical activity that is governed by a set of rules or customs and often engaged competitively. Based on this definition, cheerleading is a sport and has many different rules that cheerleaders can and cannot do, just like they can and cannot do certain different stunts and they have to stay within the little blue carpet. Cheerleading has come a long way from sideline cartwheels and handstands. Many competitive cheer teams are required to do round-off backhand spring tucks, kick double basket tosses, hitch kick double baskets, and many other things. Can you do these stunts? Because I know I can. These stunts take a lot of strength, agility, balance, and technique. It takes about a year for the average person to train for a marathon. Most competitive cheerleaders have been training since the age of 8. Gymnastics is considered a sport, and in many opinions, cheerleading, especially competitive cheerleading, is a more dance-oriented and animated form of gymnastics. Do we all agree that, especially males, they should be able to at least bench press their body weight? How about pushing and throwing your body weight up in the air for a time span of 3 to 4 minutes? That's what cheerleaders do all the time. Other than Olympic bench pressing, no other athletes do this. According to Consumer Product Commission, cheerleading may be the most dangerous sport, with 30,000 emergency room visits in 2008. If cheerleading were recognized as a sport, safety issues would be funded more and injuries would be less because they would have more money and take more safety precautions. But because it isn't, they don't have a lot of money. A study done by MSU showed that 3.4% of all football players are injured yearly, but 7.5% of all cheerleaders are injured yearly, showing that cheerleading is more dangerous than football, which is one of the most contact sports out here. Many assume that because the definition of sports is constantly changing, and also some believe that cheerleading is judged subjectively, this is why cheerleading shouldn't be considered a sport. But these two reasons eliminate the risk that male and female cheerleaders put their bodies at. As a track runner throughout all of high school, I looked down on cheerleaders, but this year living with a cheerleader for the University of Maryland, I have gained a completely new respect for them. Hopefully, all of you can now realize that cheerleading is a sport and should be considered a sport. And I have showed you that cheerleading goes by the definition of a sport, how cheerleading and other contact sports don't have big differences. And now I have a video from our school's competitive cheerleading squad talking about the different injuries.
Ripped abs, bulging biceps, and injuries. No, this isn't the women's basketball team, it's women's cheerleading, a sport at the University of Maryland, and these women are competing for a national title.
So we really had to come out with something harder, something more creative, and when you're the best, judges judge you harder. So you really help push us to practice, knowing that we have to be absolutely perfect.
Competitive cheerleaders are not the same people you see on the sidelines as the Spirit Squad. The only job for this all-female team is to compete and win.
National titles are a rare thing here with competitive cheer teams. They've had 2 national titles in the last 5 years that they've been considered a sport, both in the last 2 years.
The pressure for a three-peat is high. As freshman Samantha Ford says, living up to the expectation of a national title can be difficult.
It was nerve-wracking coming to a school that has cheerleading as a sport and being 2-time national champions.
And those national championships can come at a cost for these athletes. Injuries are just part of the game. It's basically just a whole bunch of catching and throwing and all 4 years of just being an overhead sport. A Maryland sport that these athletes hope to highlight with another national title.
We've won 2 years in a row, so I think the crowd and the judges have a lot of expectations for us, as we have for ourselves.
expectations that may be fulfilled when they take the floor at the National Collegiate Cheer Championships in Daytona Thursday morning. In College Park, Anna Stone Street, Maryland Newsline.